Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In this episode, we're going to continue our look at the ongoing situation between the Russian Federation, Ukraine, and the West, NATO, the United States. So again, the rhetoric, as we have seen over the last several days, continues to be incredibly heated. Nothing has really changed in terms of that rhetoric on the ground. Obviously, we have the demands made by the Kremlin in terms of its desire to see Ukraine not able to join NATO, and obviously Georgia as well, way down here. We also see that, per the demands from the Kremlin, they're continuing to ask for forces withdrawal from Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Romania, and basically all of the eastern portion of what is currently NATO. Basically are no longer or should no longer have U.S. or NATO forces, NATO allied forces deployed in those states. And again, it would look like it's a demand that NATO is simply not going to be able to facilitate. But what else is going on? I had the opportunity to look at some recent videos of especially some of the deployment of Russian tanks, specifically some older modeled T-72s being outfitted with slate armor on the top of the turret. Now, look, whoever or whomever within the Russian army that decided to initiate that program. Now, I don't know how widespread that is, but I can say that is a really bad idea. So, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, the Ukrainian forces have been equipped with top attack missiles in the form of the Javelin anti-tank guided weapon system. It's a fire and forget weapon system where the soldier is able to, using the forward-looking infrared device, the thermal optic on the Javelin system, can identify a target in excess of 2,000 meters away, and then fire the missile, which then goes to apogee and then comes down and attacks the tank on the point of the tank where the turret armor is most thin. And that could also be the back deck of the tank as well, where the engine is. So, but in order to try and prevent that from happening, prevent a catastrophic kill, the Russians have decided to take slate armor, which you normally see on the sides of tanks. It looks like bar armor is another term for it. Again, it's really designed to set off the high explosive anti-tank warhead away from the tank, or cause damage to the warhead because of the slate armor that exists. And there's been some effective use of it in terms of it being able to prevent RPG-7s or other man-portable anti-tank weapon systems, but to defeat a Javelin top attack system with an advanced tandem warhead is really beyond the scope of that slate armor. Now, what makes this bad is not only will it really won't do anything to prevent the Javelin from destroying that vehicle, or at least, in the very least, still mission killing that vehicle, right? But if that system explodes, detonates, let's say over the back deck or near in between the back deck and the turret, and the concussion of that force is going to blow that slate armor down on the turret, and if it's, let's say, the heat warhead it enters the engine compartment and sets the vehicle on fire from the rear, but not killing the crew, that crew is now trapped. How are they going to get out? You're looking at in excess of 500 to 800 pounds. I don't know how much that slate armor weighs, but that crew is simply not going to be able to get out of that tank given the situation that is going on. Again, the slate armor could possibly be just simply detonated and is now sitting on the top of the turret while the tank is on fire. And let's say the crew member in the turret survives and they're now trying to get out of the tank. Well, they're not going to be able to get out because that slate armor is going to be sitting on top of both the commander's hatch and the gunner's hatch of these T-72 model tanks. So again, a really stupid decision to do that. I guess, I can see it on the sides, but again, at least against a Javelin system or Beaufart's Bill system, Bill 2, Bill 3, you're just not going to. That slate armor is not going to help you. In all probability, it's still going to penetrate through that slate armor and send that molting jet of high explosive anti-tank warhead through the top of that turret. And again, if it doesn't kill the crew members, you're also going to have an additional blast wave that is going to take that slate armor and drive it down on top of the turret, and the crew is not going to be able to get out. So I don't know. I would assume the Russians have tested it, and maybe they have seen something that helps for some. Maybe it's a morale booster in terms of the crew members of the tanks believing that this slate armor on the top will help them survive a javelin attack, but I don't really think so. I think it's probably going to be more. It's going to be more lethal for the crew possibly because again they can't get out of the damn tank. But anyway, what else is going on? So we continue to hear about the buildup of forces. We're looking at now in excess of 50 battalion tactical groups now operating. So again, this map is now dated. Many of these forces or large elements of these forces that you see all over the map have now been moved to the border or in the process of being moved to the border of Ukraine. Now, when you say 50, in excess of 50 battalion tactical group sized units, again, battalion tactical groups are made up of tanks, armored personnel carriers, small elements of self-propelled artillery, and other assets as well. And usually you're looking at about 1,000 personnel, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, depending on the makeup of said battalion tactical group. Is it heavy infantry, heavy mechanized infantry, or is it heavy tank? Again, hard to say. But in terms of 50 battalion tactical groups, that's roughly comparable to about 15 U.S. heavy brigades. So just to give you the idea of the force construct that is moving around Ukraine, it is huge, massive force buildup, and again that probably doesn't include airborne forces that are in staging areas away from the border, ready to be brought in by heli-borne assault or possible parachuting into the country as well. And then the Spetsnaz operations, and you have the Marine brigades of the Russian Federation as well, which have been moved and are operating very close to the border too. And some of those units you're just not going to be able to track like you would some of the more heavier units within the Russian Federation. So there could be actually quite a bit more forces being deployed near the Ukrainian border than what is actually being reported. And then you also have the Russian National Guard, 180, 200,000 man force. It's full-time force, mainly a light infantry or motorized infantry force, but again, still that could still be utilized and is going to be utilized in urban pacification operations. So what can we expect from this Russian operation if and when it kicks off? Well, I think you have to really look at the current Russian general staff. You have to look at their background, and I think you're going to end up seeing a hybrid operation. Now, what I mean by hybrid operation, I don't mean like what we observed in 2014. What I mean is, I think we're going to see an operation, again, if this happens, that will be a mixture of both old Soviet doctrine and new operational doctrine that has been created because of some recent military strategy, military tactics that the Russian military has been engaging in and seeing in terms of operations in Syria and other places around the world. So again, I don't believe we will see a strictly Soviet doctrine style attack into the Ukraine. I think we'll see, again, a hybrid operation. Now, with that being said, if I were the Ukrainians, I would definitely start preparing for a chemical weapons attack. Throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, and into the 90s, a lot of us Cold War fighters who were prepared to fight the Russians, preparing to fight the Soviet Union, the Russians, the Soviets were always intending to use chemical weapons. And what does that mean? Well, they'll use a variety of chemical weapon systems mixed with non-lethal chemical agents such as CS gas, irritant-based gases. They'll use, in all probability, lewisite munitions. They love their lewisite, and they'll probably end up using it. And they could possibly mix in with that lewisite and irritant type munitions the deployment of nerve agents as well. Is this going to cause a significant strategic shift in terms of success? Probably not. But it will create an atmosphere of fear of these Ukrainian units that some of them could be static and meaning they just aren't high mobility units. And that may cause fear in some of those units that they're going to get hit with lewisite munitions and then obviously nerve agent as well. So again, that is standard Soviet doctrine to engage in high-intensity maneuver warfare in conjunction with direct chemical weapon attacks. And it's something that there would be, I would assume, plausible deniability. Now you can see right now the playing field is being set quite possibly for the use of chemical weapons when you have the Russian general staff talking about possible Ukrainian forces preparing for chemical warfare, right? So why would they say that? And you have to consider that they're going to go back to that old time-proven doctrine where the old Soviet doctrine was the active use of chemical weapons, again, blister, irritant, nerve agents being deployed on the battlefield. And I would say it's something that the Ukrainians should definitely look out for. I mean, the Russian general staff right now is made up of old Soviet officers, former Soviet officers. So again, in all probability, you'll see that doctrine being utilized in conjunction with cruise missile saturation attacks, short-range ballistic missile or intermediate, medium-range precision-guided ballistic missiles such as the Iskander and caliber cruise missiles. You'll also see, in all probability, a rather extensive air campaign with the Su-34 fullback dropping Glosnas, their version of the JDAM. And again, you could even see a cold start. We may not see all the Russian combat battalions deployed along the border, but they may decide to do a multi-day air campaign to degrade and destroy the Ukrainian military on the ground, the Ukrainian Air Force, the air defense assets that the Ukrainians have with caliber cruise missiles, with Iskander ballistic missiles. And again, don't rule out the possible use of chemical weapons. The Russians love this stuff, and they will use it. So again, it's kind of what we're looking at right now. But all roads point to war right now, unless something changes. I would say at this point, Vladimir Putin has issued the go order, and I would say that he has the ability to then issue a stop order. So I think, I believe at least, he's issued the go order, and he has the option of issuing a stop order. And obviously, I think there's going to be various stages to this conflict, possibly, that could see a fairly limited operation all the way up to the complete conquest of Ukraine. I don't believe we're going to see the complete conquest of Ukraine. I don't think the Russians are there yet in terms of the type of forces they're going to need to deploy into the Ukraine. I think we could see again a land corridor to Crimea, also the seizure of the water assets along the Dnieper River, and possibly the seizure of the East Bank, so to speak, of everything east of the Dnieper River is I think the furthest they would go. I highly doubt that they would look for the complete conquest of the Ukraine, but you can never really rule it out at this point. I think a lot of it depends on the initial success that the Russian army has in its endeavors, initial endeavors into the Ukraine. But again, we're going to continue to watch what's happening and give you more content, more information as events warrant. Have a good day, everybody.